What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about observing success barriers. So this is something that is one of these topics that I think that most people do not really consider because, well, in a modern age now, there is so much fluff talk about success and all this, but there is a thing that people rarely talk about, and it was a concept that I found in, I think it was 2012. And the reason why it's not so out there is because it is one of these nuanced ideas, and that is the idea of success barriers, and that it goes deeper than this surface layer fluff that people usually talk about, and that people have, like, the theory is like people have these sort of success barriers. They have these sort of if you take a person's, let's say, DNA, it is the way it sort of is structured is, well, we can see with humans something happened and we evolved rather quick, and they have sort of looked in nature and sort of think that in many ways there may be some missing link somewhere why humans evolved so quick compared to other species, and that you eventually get almost into this evolutionary issue then potentially of success barriers, where how humans usually, or how other things and other creatures are sort of evolving in sort of nature, is that it happens slowly, while for humans it happened rather quick. And just because it happens so quick, most people cannot really cope with that. So the theory then is that people have these success barriers, right? They have this sort of box where even if you show them something that actually is gonna be good for them, then they can't see it. Like, they literally can't see that reality, even if you show it to them. And it's like, it's one of these very interesting things where humans are sort of they are dealing with stuff, and they have this sort of it sort of goes deep into, like, humans. Like, a lot of humans has a lot of fear of instantly go and, like, be successful in something, because I mean, it just brings up a lot of fear in people, the idea of be super successful in something, because it basically means that they sort of feel they're gonna stand out, and and people have massive success barriers, especially with that they do not want to do something that is outside of, let's say, the group think. And what basically then happens is there's a lot of mediocrity happens when sort of the group decides a lot of when a person is looking at, oh, what should I do? Oh, I look at what all the other people are doing, and I basically do the same. But if you basically do the same, you're probably not going to get that great results. And it's just interesting to for human to increase their awareness of where is their own sort of success barriers, where are they basically holding themselves back, because everyone sort of has these success barriers where we probably are not even aware of our own sort of success barriers. Other people can probably see them in us much easier. Well, it's very hard for a human themselves to sort of look at themselves from an outside perspective of, yeah, I'm sort of holding myself back here, I'm not really doing as good. And it's funny now with the social media stuff, you see how many people basically holding themselves back and have these success barriers, And people now, there's so many people that are having this like fake job, and they call themselves an influencer. They start Facebook pages, and they start like Instagram pages with just like motivation stuff, let's say, but they're not really doing that much. Instagram, for example, both Instagram and Facebook is sort of holding back a lot of stuff in terms of like the tools. The tools is so bad with like Instagram. There's no content moderation, there's no token systems, there's no way to properly empower people, and it's so centralized. And all this is like, even these companies, you see how they have success barriers. So it's not just humans that have success barriers. So what happens with humans is like they find something, like usually some mediocre thing that they sort of enjoy doing, and they sort of stay there, and stuff gets kind of stagnant. That's the same thing that we see with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. It's like it's just been super stagnant now the last 10 years, where they're really not giving the tools that a person needs. So for example, with Instagram, they sort of like have massive control over how many accounts you create, and massive control in the content, what kind of content you see. It's sort of selling you ads and all this, and it's like these big companies, they have like massive success barriers. And even bigger, larger structures also have success barriers. Whole countries have success barriers, where people like, or where whole like countries of people, it's like a collective success barrier, where a lot of countries are still, and a lot of companies same, they're sort of in this competitive mode, where they think it's like we against them, while in a global world it's like it's just about inclusive growth. Like everything is about inclusion. Same as when you're eating food, you're doing that because you want to include something in your body, and it's all about that, about like the inclusion aspect and the collaboration aspect, and that it just makes sense in terms of a business perspective. If everyone was an owner of everything, you can never go out of business. if Instagram, let's say Instagram, if they made it so all the users were owners in Instagram, and they own shares in, let's say, Instagram or YouTube or Google, of course those businesses would never go out of business, because the whole community would have incentive for them to not go out of business. So this is the cool thing about inclusive growth eventually, where a lot of these success barriers that people have, like no longer do they have to do everything themselves. And that's very, very cool when you have a inclusive reward system that actually works, where no longer does a person has to do every video themselves, every blog post themselves, every blog post, video, photo post themselves. How these, like the success barriers with Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, is everyone needs their own page, and everyone is like sort of in many ways fighting against other people in form of attention. But why not instead? Why can't you have a system, as DTube is doing right now, where you can share anything, and that creates this cool effect. It's like inclusive, where the way I think all these platforms are going to go eventually in the future, even with the Steam pages and stuff like that, is eventually people probably going to rent out their page, and they're going to realize that when they have better tools, they can make other people produce content for them. They don't have to do everything themselves. It's all about it's just all about getting the tools in people's hands, the best hardware, the best software, and then people don't have to do all the YouTube videos. They don't have to do all the Instagram posts. They can make other people do it sometimes, right? Because people enjoy variation and people learn faster by this collaboration aspect. And it's really great how it eventually can sort of solve success barriers, where the thing with the success barriers was everyone fighting against other people. And I mean, that's even what we're seeing in crypto right now. Everyone is sort of fighting against each other in many ways. But when you have when everyone is sort of on the same, everyone sort of have the awareness that if something succeeds, that's good for you as well, even if it's not on your side, right? Because eventually everything with the internet is going to be connected. And it's very interesting how much you become aware of how non-inclusive these Instagram and Facebook truly is. Every day when I'm using, let's say, Steam blockchain, every day when I go back to, let's say, Instagram, I realize how limited the app is. That it's nothing anymore. It's no excitement. It's not a good tool. It's really behind, especially for 2019. It's 2012. It was cool. It's not cool 2019. And it's going to be interesting to see all these platforms eventually morph into where everything's just going to be everywhere. That's going to be kind of cool. That also means that, and that's of course what we see in the whole decentralized aspect, is inclusivity. That you can create that with open source and decentralized systems. Inclusive growth. You cannot do that with centralized stuff because it's not spread out. It's like decentralized systems is in nature fungi. It's decentralized systems that goes below the ground, and a friend told me that basically. But yeah, you can look at it on Google. If you look at a photo, it's kind of cool. And yeah, it's really important. It's really important because I think that inclusive growth is going to make it so people can realize this intellect thing. They don't have to do it anymore. They don't have to make everything be against something else. We're seeing this on the YouTube right now a lot. There's always some versus. This versus that. This versus that. Country versus this. Product Apple versus Samsung. It's the intellect that always want to split things up. Well, you want to move to a phase where people realize you don't have to split up the existence. You don't have to split up anything. You don't have to try to put everything in different or more boxes to confuse things even further. Because humans, we can complicate stuff super much, but you realize eventually that it's like it used to be super hard to get some value, and you're not just seeing limitations with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube when you are on Steam blockchain, but you also realize limitations that are in society, less like banks and stuff like that. Like, I love banks when it was like the only thing that we knew, but when the awareness increased it and we realized, wait a sec, we can have Bitcoin, we can have these token systems that automatically just makes value go instantly to the source of where it should. It's like, of course, we should use this new technology because it's just more inclusive, and that's the end of it. It's not that people, and here again, people trying to do this versus like banks versus crypto. That's not really the point. The point is using the best technology that basically evolves everything much faster, and then you need like massive inclusivity, because that's just how the creation is made, right? So yeah, I started to talk a little bit about success barriers, and yeah, I mean, you see so many friends that could benefit from this amazing technology, but they still have success barriers where they are in a lot of these old systems. They're super limited for humans, and you sort of realize that the only way like everything is gonna move forward is when everyone is truly connected, everyone has access to the best information, everyone has access to the best software and hardware, then you eventually move things, then eventually can move forward, right? So all these success barriers that a lot of people have right now, all these ideas, that people have when they're discussing stuff, it's so much intellect focused, where it's almost always something against the other. And this was super annoying for me when I started my YouTube channel and made a lot of fiat money. And it was like people, when they heard about that, it was like people couldn't see the inclusive aspect that much, because it wasn't an experience for them. They hadn't experienced it. With this new technology, people are gonna experience it, like a first hands-on experience, where it's like, okay, you can get a blockchain account super fast, you can get tokens super fast, and you can share it super fast. That's what people want. That is what people want. And when you have that system, people have their own experience, then they understand inclusivity. They do not understand it in the way current things are, where the human mind has made so many systems that it's just not needed. Like they're not needed at all anymore. And a lot of these systems, they were good for the time when we didn't know better. But now it's like, okay, we can sort of evolve now. We can sort of use this new technology that is better. It's just super obvious that it's better. And for anyone that's sort of using it, it's like, it's obvious. It's all obvious. It's amazing. Yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. It's really interesting because a lot of the discussions people have, it's about the job. It's about stuff that is going on in the world. But many people do not realize how big role economy basically plays in all this. That, well, if everyone has a lot of value, then people can sort of calm down, and then they realize, oh wait a sec, most of these arguments and most of these discussions that people are having, it was like most of them, like if you solve the base needs first, then people can sort of look at bigger things, and then they realize a lot of these talks can basically be fixed with value that is spread across the world, not just in a few big cities. And the only way to spread wealth is you need to use both banks and crypto and all the systems that can basically spread wealth. Like you need to use all the systems, because you need soft loans that you will be able to issue to like poor regions for like 10 to 15 years, so they can sort of build stuff up in various regions. And that's maybe not something that crypto at the moment can do. So it's like all the value systems, we need them all. We don't need any competition. We just need collaboration, and we just need awareness, right? So yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. It's gonna be cool because people are gonna realize they don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if a person already has done something, then it's like you don't have to do it again. So a lot of people are going to realize, well, you don't even have to create to get value. You can use stake and earn passive interest, or you can curate and you can just piggyback on other people by promoting them. So there's going to be a lot of ways to earn. That is kind of cool, and that is inclusivity. And that is what's going to help it, so people can basically move beyond a lot of these success barriers they currently have. And yeah, so people do have success barriers. It's very real, but a lot of those success barriers, you can make people move forward if you just fix economy, software, hardware, and increase awareness and make people more sensible, that there are more eyes looking at the world, and really ask themselves logical questions like, does this make any sense, or should I use this better technology, or whatever, or I don't know. Yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Have a great day, DTube and the Steam blockchain.